Welcome to an alternate past. Today's video is, what if the Spanish Armada had successfully invaded England? Imagine the world as we know it being completely different, shaped by a shattering wave of Spanish domination. What if, on that stormy summer of 1588, the Spanish Armada had successfully invaded England? The consequences of this historical what if are startling and profound. The Spanish Armada, a Spanish fleet of 130 ships, was meticulously prepared by King Philip II of Spain with the intention of overthrowing Elizabeth I and re-establishing Catholicism in England. Had they triumphed, the religious landscape of Europe would have shifted drastically. Protestant England, a growing power, would have been snuffed out, and Catholicism would have been reinstated as the dominant religion. The persecution of Protestants under Spanish rule would have been inevitable, leading to mass executions, forced conversions, and widespread fear. More than just a religious shockwave, imagine the geopolitical consequences. England's defeat would have altered the balance of power in Europe. Spain, already a dominant global force with its vast empire in the Americas and the Philippines, would have cemented itself as the supreme European power. With England subjugated, Spanish influence would have seeped into English colonies, changing the course of colonization and the eventual creation of nations like the United States, Canada, and Australia. The Spanish invasion would undoubtedly have brought brutal repercussions for the English monarchy and aristocracy. Elizabeth I, revered for her leadership and intellect, could have been executed or imprisoned, stripping Britain of its iconic Virgin Queen. Her advisors and loyal nobles would likely have faced confiscation of their titles, lands, and lives. The Tower of London might have seen a new wave of high-profile executions as Philip II stamped his authority onto the once independent nation. Cultural ramifications would loom equally large. England, on the cusp of its golden age, driven by the likes of William Shakespeare and other Renaissance figures, would have seen its cultural bloom extinguished under Spanish rule. Spanish censorship and the Inquisition could have squelched the literary and scientific innovation of this vibrant period. Shakespeare's plays, a cornerstone of English literature, might never have reached their heights or would have been altered beyond recognition, losing their uniquely English flavor. Image the drastic economic consequences for England. Spain's voracious appetite for wealth, fueled by its colonies, would have extended to an occupied England. English resources, industry, and labor would be exploited for the Spanish crown. The burgeoning English navy, pivotal to protecting trade routes and developing maritime prowess, would have been dismantled or repurposed for Spanish interests. The decimation of English sea power would have crushed its trade aspirations, sending shockwaves through the geopolitics of trade and colonization. England's invasion would also have likely seen an influx of Spanish culture and customs, dramatically altering English society. The English language would have been infused with Spanish, changing everyday communication. Architectural styles would have shifted, with Spanish Baroque elements replacing English Gothic. The social customs, from culinary habits to fashion, would have meshed into a unique Anglo-Spanish hybrid, creating a distinct yet alien England. Imagine, too, the resistance that would have likely risen. Despite the might of the Spanish military, the English spirit of rebellion would have sparked uprisings and guerrilla warfare. The fight for freedom could have spanned decades, with bloodshed marking English soil. Figures like Francis Drake could have turned from national heroes to legendary resistance leaders, their tales becoming part of an enduring struggle against Spanish oppression. Spain's successful invasion of England would have had ripple effects across Europe and beyond. The Dutch, engaged in their 80 Years' War against Spanish rule, would have faced a more formidable and confident Spanish force. This might have extended their suffering and delayed their independence. France, Spain's perennial rival, would have had to contend with an even more powerful neighbor. The shifting alliances and wars that followed could have redrawn the map of Europe multiple times, with the potential for even greater conflict. Finally, consider how the New World may have evolved under these altered circumstances. Spanish dominance in North America would have meant radically different development patterns, laws, and cultural attitudes. Spanish control over English colonists would have stifled the spirit of independence that ultimately led to the American Revolution. The emergence of the United States as a global power, with its foundational principles of democracy and freedom, could have been stymied or taken a completely different form. In conclusion, the successful invasion of England by the Spanish Armada would have triggered a seismic shift in the trajectory of global history. The religious, political, cultural, economic, and social upheavals born from this event paint a picture of a diverse, conflicted, and markedly different world. How the human spirit navigates such monumental changes remains a tantalizing enigma, reminding us just how pivotal certain moments in history are.